Hi everyone, welcome to the JetsInsider.com's Green and White Breakdown with Ashley and Evan. Evan, so the Jets are going into this season with very low expectations. Some critics are even saying that they'll be lucky to win 4 games. What do you think about that?
Well, first I'm just going to say that even before training camp started, I thought the low expectations were a little ridiculous. This is a team that hasn't lost a lot from last season, and it seemed like everything went wrong for them a year ago, and they still pull out 6 wins. So to expect the same, doesn't seem that far-fetched to me. But looking at this team, they still have a strong defense, and that's something you can really expect with a team that's, coached by Rex Ryan. They still have plenty of playmakers. They look really strong. That's not going to be a question for me. What's going to be the question is the offense. And right now, watching through training camp, I think a big thing for them is the offensive line looks strong again. They bring in the veteran Willie Colon from the Steelers, and they draft Brian Winters, and both of them have played pretty solidly. Willie Colon especially, who, if he stays healthy, can really be a steal for the Jets. He's looked fantastic out there at times, and if they can bolster that offensive line, if that becomes a strength for them again, that would just be huge for this team.
So there's a lot of competitions going on. Let's address the one that everyone's talking about. How do you think the quarterback competition's going? They announced yesterday that Mark will be starting for the first preseason game on Friday.
Yes, and before training camp started, I would have been very surprised if Mark Sanchez was not under center week 1. I'd still be surprised if he's not, but maybe less so. I think Gino has come out and hasn't looked quite like the rookie you're expecting him to. He's been pretty solid. Maybe this last week things have changed a bit. Mark had a couple of good practices. Gino came back to earth a little bit. I still see that competition close. I still kind of get the sense from the organization that they're hoping that Gino wins this competition in the starting. They want to move on to the future. But as of right now, I see Mark starting week 1.
Okay, now since that is the competition everyone's talking about, there's other ones out in the field that are being completely overlooked. There's a lot of positions for the Jets that aren't, the top spot's not filled yet. What about safety?
Yeah, safety is a very interesting competition. I mean, you have Dwayne Landry on one side, and that's locked down. He's there. But then for the other spot, you have Antonio Allen, you have Jacqueline Jarrett, and you have Josh Bush. And those 3 guys, what's interesting about that is I feel like they're all kind of in that same level. They all have their strengths, they all have their weaknesses, they're all learning, they're all competing for that spot. And that's interesting to me just because, you want to see each of them compete because I think it's so close. It'll be interesting to see as we get closer to the season who really emerges and stands out as that starter.
And what about wide receiver? There's some things up in the air there too.
Yeah, obviously, with the injury issue with Santonio Holmes, you have no idea when he's going to be there. Braylon Edwards, though, has come in, and while he's been on that pitch count that they've been talking about, he's performed well when he has been on the field. But then we have 3 wide receivers to look at. There's Jeremy Curley, who was the leading receiver for the Jets last year. Then there's Stephen Hill, their second-round pick from a year ago. And then Clyde Gates, who maybe didn't have the highest expectations going into camp, but has really stood out so far. And the 3 of them, there's they've all shown flashes on the field. There's all reasons to be optimistic about them. There's all reasons to, still have your questions. I'd say, especially for Hill and Gates, I'd like to see it, even at the very least Friday in the preseason. But they've looked pretty good so far. And if you can even have one of those guys emerge and be a real threat and you get Holmes back healthy, that's a big boost to the receiving core from a year ago.
Now, you've been at camp for almost 2 weeks now. The Jets are almost about to leave Cortland next week. Who has emerged to you as somebody who's kind of flying under the radar?
Well, I'd say, like a surprise guy coming into the season. It's just Bilal Powell, who, not much expectations for, and a guy we've already mentioned, Clyde Gates. 2 guys going to camp, didn't really think that much of, didn't know how big a contribution they've had. And both of them have been getting reps with the first team. We haven't talked about Powell yet, but he's looked very strong with all the problems in front of him. Ivory has his injury. Goodson, we have no idea. And now you have McKnight with his head injury and his small legal issues. Hasn't been on the field recently. Powell's been the guy who's gotten the first team carries, who's played pretty well, has got the attention of the players and the coaches, and the guy who, come week 1, even if those 3 guys return back and are healthy, I wouldn't be surprised to see him contribute in a significant way to this team.
All right, well, thank you so much for your insight, Evan. For more Jets news, check out the JetsInsider.com and follow us on Twitter at JetsInsider. I'm Ashley Iaconetti.
And I'm Evan Slavit.
Thanks for watching.